while you are recovering from eating tons of turkey yesterday and probably spending a lot of money today on Black Friday, although it's like, Black Friday week these days, but while you are recovering financially and intestinally, you can watch November in Review. It's the end of the month. It's that time of the month for, my monthly in review, what the heck I bought in this month. So, not really a whole lot, and not really a whole lot I'm going to say about a lot of this stuff, but it's enough that I'm like, let's make a dinky little video about it. So, let's get right into it. I didn't do any research about anything, so hopefully this is not like 45 minutes. First thing I bought is not a video game, but pretty video game adjacent, and that would be a Video Now. So, I had one of these growing up. I think I had a red one, and the Video Now is literally just GBA video, but crappy quality. So early 2000s, it was all the rage to put like kids TV shows or movies portably. So like we had the PSP, and on the PSP you had like UMD videos, and you can get like episodes of TV shows or whole movies. Not necessarily the greatest quality, but like you could get it. GBA video was on the Game Boy Advance, and they were cartridges that jam-packed several episodes, or in some cases entire movies, about like stuff that kids were watching at the time. Quality was horrible, but then I think this was Hasbro. Yeah, Hasbro had to get in on the fun and put out their own Video Now. So all the movies, and not even movies, I don't think there was any movies, all the shows came in like little mini discs, kind of like what the PSP discs look like. They went right in here, they spun, and you get this horrible like old Game Boy screen, basically. Quality was really bad, but I remembered having one, and then I like unlocked the repressed memory that I had one, and happened to find one on Facebook Marketplace at like in the beginning of November, and for like $10 I got the Video Now. I got 2 SpongeBob episodes, Krusty Krab training video, and Wet Painters, and then here's what the discs look like. They are very, very small. And also got 2 more that came in the bundle. It was like $10 for the Video Now, and all 3 of what I'm about to show you. The next one was SpongeBob SquarePants Band Geeks, which I think I probably had this one. I think this was like a disc that maybe like everyone got with the Video Now. I could be wrong about that. But then also another Fairly Odd Parents, Shiny Teeth, and Odd West. So I now have unlocked the ability to start collecting for the Video Now, for better or for worse. Kind of like the GBA video. I mean, I made a GBA video back in like June, mentioning that there was another cartridge that I was missing, which apparently that cartridge doesn't actually exist. I was wrong. But yeah, kind of going along with that like trope of crappy ways to watch TV shows back in the day. But like when you're a kid, you don't care at all. And I probably didn't care at all when I had Video Now. So now I have it again. Fairly Odd Parents, SpongeBob, right up my alley. I will probably be buying some of those mini discs. They're also pretty cheap, so like I won't be breaking the bank with some of these things. So the Video Now. Next thing is also video game adjacent, a little bit more adjacent to video games than the Video Now. But Pat the NES Punk put out the ultimate guide to the N64 library. So Pat the NES Punk, sort of in the same era of like Angry Video Game Nerd. I never watched it growing up. This thing is so freaking heavy. It's like 10 pounds, so I'm not going to hold it. He was in the same like early YouTuber creator space of making videos about retro games, and his whole shtick was like NES games back then. And so kind of in that same space. And I only discovered him in like the pandemic because of his podcast, and I just became a fan. So I think maybe to a small extent he's a little polarizing. I love his podcast. I love both of his podcasts. One is mostly all about video games. The other one is a little bit more general. But I am a Pat the NES Punk fan, even if I look like more Pat Contri than Pat the NES Punk. But whatever it is, he put out this guide to the N64 library, which is like comprehensive, every N64 game ever released. And yeah, now I have the book. I had pre-ordered it when it went on pre-order, but then I saw him at Retro Game Con in October, and he had those books, but my book hadn't yet come in, so I didn't have a chance to like have him sign it. But still cool. I've seen him at like almost every convention I've gone to, so it's cool to chat with him each time. So not that I think he's gonna watch this, but yeah, that's from Pet's from New Jersey, and I asked him one time calling into his podcast and was like, what is it like being from the armpit of the country? And he got really upset. So, that was kind of funny, but it's no big deal. But yeah, I have now all 3 of his books, the NES book, the Super Nintendo book, and the N64 book. And this one I actually need to read because I'm actually very interested. So yes, now I have a book. Okay, into actual games, and there's not really a whole lot. I think I'm looking at like 6 of them right here, and the thing we end off with is barely even like a game that I bought, but we'll get to that. So first thing is, I've talked about Ape Escape so many times on this channel. I grew up playing Ape Escape 2, love Ape Escape 2. I only beat it for the first time like 2 or 3 summers ago, 2024? Yeah, like 2 or 3 summers ago, probably 3 years ago. But I love Ape Escape 2, and I really need to play more of the games in the series. I desperately need to play Ape Escape 3. I tried playing Ape Escape 1 on PS1. I couldn't handle the graphics, but I really do need to get to it. But I'm sort of in the era of like buying variants for a series that I like. So previous episodes I've talked about like Dokapon variants I've gotten, like the best variants, like kind of player's choice-esque variants. And yeah, I got one for Ape Escape 2. So this is the PlayStation 2, the best variant for Ape Escape 2. Yeah, now we're just buying variants to games that I already have. That's the curse of collecting. So not really much more I need to say about that. Most of what I was going to say is like Ape Escape 2, but there was a re-release of it, and I actually happened to buy the reprint re-release. There was 2 re-releases of Ape Escape 2 in Japan, not here in North America, but 2 in Japan. This is one that has like kind of this like yellowish white label, and there's another one that has a yellow and like gray background. I bought that gray silver background, but my order got canceled, so rip. But now I have one of them. I'll find the other one at some point. I also think there may or may not be another one that's on the way, but yeah. So buying variants. That's the only variant for this episode, thankfully. So going a little bit more backwards, let's get to the Super Nintendo and the Super Famicom era. So in September, I went on like a little bit of a selling binge, selling some games that I thought were superfluous, some games I don't need, make room and make money for other games. And one of the games I sold was Pinocchio on the Super Nintendo. I bought Pinocchio on the Super Nintendo probably like summer 2021, summer of 2022, whenever it might have been, but mine had a huge Blockbuster label on it. And I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was invincible, and I tried taking that off, and the whole label came up with it. So I just had a completely blank Pinocchio, no label on it. So I sold that one, and I came across another one for a similar price. The back label is kind of messy, but the front label is what's more important. And now I have replaced my copy of Pinocchio. Big Disney fan, so any Disney game from like the early 80s, 90s NES era is definitely up my alley. There's a few more. At some point I would like to make a video on like Disney games that I have, but still waiting on a few more. The hardest one that I want to get before I make that video is like Aladdin on the Game Boy Advance. It's like a $60 game, so when that happens, maybe I'll make that video, but that's not anytime soon. So yeah, Pinocchio, I got my copy back, just a better copy. Next up on the Super Famicom is a game I talked about in the Too Many Games video, because I finally came across a copy of it. I don't know why I was like mildly intrigued, but not mildly, very intrigued by Rock and Roll Racing on the Super Nintendo, and I happened to buy a lot that had Rock and Roll Racing on Super Famicom. So, we just kind of hoard Japanese games if you haven't seen this channel before. So, yeah, now I have it in Japanese too. Rock and Roll Racing it's a racing game by Namco, or Namcot at the time, and it's kind of just known for being a decent racer, but also it has music from that era on it. When I talked about Rock and Roll Racing in the Too Many Games video, I would have known exactly what songs were on there. I think like Born to Be Wild is on there, all in its like 16-bit glory. So yeah, just I came across it. I wouldn't have bought it otherwise. It's kind of expensive on its own, but it was in a lot. The lot was for a really good price. So now I have it. Cool. Next up on the Super Famicom is a weird one, and I only know about it because of a friend that I used to work at a video game store with, because he was like super intrigued by it. So this is, I don't remember the whole name. I don't have a list of all the exact names on there, but it's essentially Shigesato Itoi Fishing. So Shigesato Itoi is like the father of Mother, the series, like Earthbound. So it's kind of funny that a guy that made a cultural phenomenon game like Earthbound and Mother 1 and 3 was involved in making a fishing game that's like named after him. It's kind of funny. So there's two of them. There's this one on Super Famicom that's got like the whole second cartridge. I believe it was for Satellaview. I could be totally wrong, but it's cool because it's like, you know, bigger than a regular Super Famicom cartridge. But there's this one that I didn't know about, but the friend knew about the one on N64. So in a video a long time ago, probably like 2 Labor Days ago, I think, I had a video talking about like Japanese N64 games I got, and the Shigesato Itoi fishing game on N64 is in that video. So now I have both of them. Cool. Yeah, really not much I'm saying about a lot of these games. Another game that I sold in September, early October was 1942 on NES. 1942 is a shmup by Capcom. I think if Rewind Arcade is watching this, I think he's a huge fan. Don't attack me. I didn't do my research, but 1942 is a shmup that, you know, was in arcades, very popular, very famous. Had like a single sequel, 1943, but I had it on NES. Looked at it, I was like, I'm never gonna get this. But part of what I was trying to justify in selling some games was like, well, if I sell it in English, would I buy it in Japanese, right? I'm never gonna play 1942 on NES. So if I just wanted for the shelf, I might as well get it in Japanese because it's a cheaper version, and also because, you know, I have so many NES cartridges. It's cooler to get like Famicom cartridges. I don't know. That's just the collector in me, but I ended up getting 1942 on Famicom. So to me, as a collector's piece, this is more interesting to me because I'm in like the niche of collecting Japanese games. This is more interesting to me than having it on NES, since I'm not going to play the one on NES. But that's just me. But now I have another game that I sold, and I just bought a different version of it. So yeah, so that's almost everything. Very last thing isn't even a game. It happened to be a box that I bought. So in my state, there was a one-day like vendor village kind of idea in the northern part of the state that I've gone to the past couple years. I think the last 2 years, maybe the last 3 years. Definitely last 2 years, maybe the last 3 years. I think it was only the last 2 years. But normally it was held in the summer. This time it was held in November. Happened to be up in the area for this one in November. So I went and I didn't buy anything except this one item. It's a box and manual to a game that I had loose. And I'm saving this one for last because it's a game I'm very fond of and I have very good memories with. But yeah, of like all the things that I could have bought at this little like mini convention, I bought a box and manual. So it was cool because a lot of the sellers there were sellers that I know just from like the community in this state, which is cool. He's a really nice guy and he gave me a really good deal on it. So Matt, thank you for that. But also, yeah, it was Donkey Kong Country. So I had a loose cartridge. I grew up playing Donkey Kong Country on the GBA. When I got into collecting video games, I got it on Super Nintendo. Beat it on Super Nintendo. But then I just had the loose cartridge sitting for a while. And I normally don't have any issue with like buying loose NES or Super Nintendo games just because they're so expensive to get in the box. But it was almost like I haven't bought anything today. So I really needed to buy something. Not really needed to buy something, quote unquote. But yeah, getting it from a seller I know, seller I'm cool with, and for a deal that was very, very fair. So yeah, now I have the box and I have a complete in-box copy to a game I absolutely love. Monkeys. We love monkeys on this channel. We started with Ape Escape 2 and we're ending with Donkey Kong Country. So yeah, I don't know how long this video is. It's probably not long at all, but that's November in review. Really not a whole lot. Not a whole lot that's going to come in December. Probably not going to make any videos in December. Probably going to take the rest of the calendar year off. But I do know that we got some Switch games coming. You're watching this on Black Friday. I had already done some Black Friday shopping. So we'll have a yearly Switch Christmas special. But aside from that, we'll probably take a little while off. I got to record some stuff for another project that is not related to this channel. So I got to put some priority into that. But after that's done, we can go back to making videos. I have some ideas in the works, some things I got to research, but, you know, one thing at a time. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned something. I didn't do any research, so I don't really learned anything. Whoa, that was not English. I didn't really learn anything, so if there's something you want to tell me about these games, by all means, let me know. I would love to learn about some of these games, especially like 1942. I'm probably going to get a lecture from Rewind Arcade in a little bit. But like the Itoy fishing game, Rock and Roll Racing, you got something to say about these games? Let me hear it. I'd love to learn about them as much as I have hopefully taught you something. So with that said, happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays. I'll see you at the end of December for the Switch Christmas special. But until then, bye.